When a wealthy family loses a child and can afford to bury him properly, they almost always ask for the same handful of things. A guardian angel watching over the grave, a crucifix marking faith, a weeping figure draped in stone, head bowed, forever grieving. Walk through the great cemeteries of Europe and you'll find this same trio repeated thousands of times over. Generation after generation, family after family, as if grief only has one acceptable shape in marble. But in 1930, a wealthy Catalan family did something almost nobody else in that entire cemetery had ever done. They buried their son and requested the one image every other grieving family had spent centuries trying to avoid. The result is a piece now known simply as the kiss of death. Two figures, pure white marble. A young man collapsing to his knees, his whole body giving way, and behind him, wrapping around him, a skeleton with massive, feathered wings, leaning down to press its mouth against the boy's forehead. Now here's the part that unsettles people. The young man isn't fighting, his eyes are shut, his face is tilted upward, almost welcoming the kiss. And for nearly 100 years, nobody standing in front of this thing has been able to agree on what, exactly, they're witnessing. Is this the most comforting piece of funerary art in Europe? Or is it one of the most disturbing images ever carved into stone? Let's go to the place where it lives. This is Poblenou Cemetery, the oldest burial ground in Barcelona. It was built in the 1700s, outside the city walls, torn apart during the Napoleonic invasions, and rebuilt in the 1800s in a rough, working port district, a neighborhood that smelled of salt water and factory smoke. The people resting here weren't nobility. They were dock workers, textile merchants, weavers, mill owners, the backbone of an industrial city. And true to that, most of the cemetery looks exactly how you'd expect. Row after row of crosses, angels with folded hands, sorrowful women carved mid-morning. Nothing here was meant to shock anyone, except one grave. It belongs to a young man named Josep Laudet Sola, the son of a prominent textile family. Carved into his headstone is a poem written by the poet Jacint Verdaguer, describing death not as a violent robbery, but as a kind of surrender, a young man falling willingly into death's embrace and calling that fall an act of faith. And here's the detail that makes this whole story stranger than a typical cemetery commission. The family didn't ask the sculptor to symbolize the poem. They didn't want an angel gesturing toward heaven or some abstract gesture of loss. They handed over the actual verse and said, essentially, build exactly what these words describe, not a metaphor for it. The literal scene. So the workshop did. And even now, nobody can say with total certainty who deserves the credit. The signature belongs to a sculptor named Jaume Barber, head of an established Barcelona workshop. But there's a long-standing theory, one that refuses to die, that the actual design came from his son-in-law, a lesser-known artist, and that Barber's workshop simply executed someone else's vision in marble. The paperwork that could settle this argument once and for all was lost decades ago, which means one of the most iconic funerary sculptures in the world was built by a workshop and the actual author remains technically unknown. But whoever conceived it was clearly in conversation with centuries of art that came before and pushing directly against it. Think about how death had been portrayed for hundreds of years leading up to this. Medieval European churches were covered in paintings of skeletal death, seizing kings, popes, farmers, mothers, dragging them by the wrist into darkness whether they wanted to go or not. In virtually every version of this old tradition, death is a thief. Death grabs. Death drags. Death takes what it wants, and the human being has no say in the matter. This sculpture throws that entire tradition out. Here, death doesn't grab anything, it offers something. It kneels down almost tenderly and gives start with the wings, because they're doing something no skeleton in art history had ever been given before. They're not bat wings, not something menacing or reptilian. They're feathered, layered, sculpted with the same careful anatomy you'd expect on a Renaissance archangel. Death has been dressed in the wings of a rescuer, and that single choice rewires how your brain processes the whole statue. Your eye wants to read angel first, and only afterward notices the skull. Once you've seen both, you can never fully separate them again. Then look at the boy's body. He isn't standing. He isn't lying down either. He's frozen in that split second between the two, knees buckling, one arm gone slack, caught exactly at the hinge point between being alive and being gone. Most artists depicting death choose the moment before the end or the stillness after it. This sculpture freezes the one instant nobody else dared to carve: the actual transfer, the handoff, the crossing itself. And then there's the kiss. Not on the lips like a lover claiming someone, not on the neck like a predator. It lands on the forehead, which, if you think about it, is an oddly domestic, almost parental gesture. It's the kind of kiss a mother gives a child at bedtime. And the skeleton's bony hand isn't clutching him or yanking him anywhere. It's cradling him, holding him upright, the exact way you'd catch someone who was about to faint. That's the trick this sculpture pulls off, and it's why the argument around it has never actually ended. It fuses the single gentlest gesture a human being can offer with the one figure in all of art that we've been trained for 1,000 years to fear: softness, wearing the skeleton of horror. And your brain can't fully settle on either interpretation, because both are physically present in the same 6 feet of marble. People have argued about it since the day it was installed. Some visitors call it the single most comforting object in the entire cemetery. Proof that dying can be peaceful, even beautiful. Others find it deeply unsettling, precisely because it makes death look inviting. There's even a persistent rumor, never confirmed, but too good for anyone to let go of, that filmmaker Ingmar Bergman saw this exact sculpture before creating his classic film about a knight who plays chess against death himself. Nobody can prove it. But the fact that people want it to be true says something. This statue feels like the origin point of an image the rest of the century kept quietly borrowing. Today, this single grave is basically the reason tourists visit Poblenou Cemetery at all. It's featured on the official walking tours. Visitors linger in front of it far longer than they linger anywhere else in the cemetery. Cameras out, flowers left at its base, standing in the shade of the cypress trees just staring at it. And the family that commissioned it, they never left behind a single letter or document explaining why they chose this particular image over the safe, conventional choices everyone else picked. The only explanation they ever gave the world is the one carved permanently into stone. People who find the piece horrifying point to the skull, the bony fingers, the wingspan blotting out the light above a dying boy. People who find it comforting point to the same statue, the gentleness of the kiss, the peace on his closed eyes, a body that looks like it's releasing, not resisting. Here's the thing, both groups are right. The sculptor built something that supports either reading completely and refused to hand you the answer. And that refusal, that quiet, unresolved tension, is exactly why people are still standing in front of this statue, still arguing about it. Nearly a century after the boy it was built for was laid in the ground. Step back, and the wings take over, and it looks like an angel gathering someone gently upward. Step closer, and the skull takes over, and it looks like death simply came to collect what it was owed. The poem on the stone puts it simply: the young man fell into death's arms and called the fall an act of faith.